Dear friends, I am truly honored and humbled to stand here and deliver this prestigious Professor Manohar Joshi oration. This moment is undoubtedly one of the highlights of my professional journey and a significant milestone in my career. I feel humbled because many in this esteemed audience deserve the honor as much as, if not more than, I do. Thanks IHPBA for this unique honor. I was fortunate to begin my journey in two exceptional institutions, JIPMA Pondicherry, where I completed my graduation, and PGI Chandigarh, which significantly shaped my academic perspective and life in general. This is Professor Talwar, my mentor and teacher and guide. A hard taskmaster of the old school, he instilled not only fundamental surgical skills, but also life lessons. A true mentor, he stayed in touch, guiding me through a 40-year career until his passing, keeping in contact through emails. These two were the first HPB surgeons I saw performing Whipple's, liver resections, and complex multivisceral resections for HPB cancers in 1975, 50 years ago. At that time, Quino's segmental anatomy of the liver had not been detailed. We knew that there were 8 segments, but their precise boundaries and surgical significance were not described until 1989. During my tenure in Pittsburgh in the 90s, I had the opportunity to work with the legendary Dr. Thomas-Sastry. His technical innovations and medical genius have transformed the field of transplantation, but Sastry had not hesitated to address the moral and ethical issues raised by transplantation. Nizam's Institute of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad, is where I began my career as an assistant professor. During the near 3 decades at that institution, I built on a strong foundation and contributed to the training of many of the current outstanding HPB surgeons through their DNB program. I have been considering how to address this audience and ensure that your time and attention are justified. The only way to strike oil is to dig a lot of wells. I'll explore various ideas, moving from one topic to another, without focusing too much on the form or structure of a speech or any specific sequence or connections in my narrative. Considering that many orations address abstract, philosophical, and motivational subjects, I have reviewed some of my previous addresses, including one in Thailand, one at a NAC-sponsored seminar, and the presentation I was invited to deliver at IHPBA in Melbourne. Ultimately, I chose a theme addressing the natural progression of a surgeon after attaining or while striving for excellence and how he should maintain his groundings. Please pardon my rumblings and take comfort in knowing that my remarks will be brief, lasting less than half an hour. I try not to sound too sermonizing, confining myself to practical ideas. I must make it clear that I do not really consider myself an expert on the subject, because an expert is a man who tells you a simple thing in a confused way, and in such a fashion as to make you think that the confusion is your own fault. I would not try that, and to that extent, I do not consider myself an expert. To start with, I'll tell you a small story of how I was brought down to earth early in my career. Fresh with surgical skills and about to start a career, I acquired a good old ambassador car, which used to give me frequent problems. And I had a repairman across the road who would explore the vitals and make it roadworthy in a matter of minutes. He was illiterate, and I was sure his IQ was not more than 80. He was quite jovial though, and had a habit of cracking jokes whenever he saw his clients. One day, he raised his head from under the hood to say, "Doctor, a deaf and mute person went to a hardware store to ask for some nails. So he put 2 fingers of one hand on the counter and made hammering motions with the other. The shopkeeper brought him a hammer. This man shook his head and pointed to the other things. This time the shopkeeper brought the nails and this man left. The next person who came in was a blind man and he wanted scissors. How do you suppose he asked for them? I lifted my right hand and made scissoring motions with my two fingers, and this mechanic burst out laughing and said, "Doctor, this blind man simply asked for the scissors," and he got them. And you know, doctor, I've been trying this on all my customers, and I caught quite a few, but I knew for sure that I would catch you. Why is that? You know, you are highly educated. I knew you couldn't be very smart. I was grounded. Coming back to the topic, I plan to address initially touching upon the burden of HPB disease and learning opportunities in the country, how to achieve perfection in surgery and sustain it, grounding techniques for HPB surgeons, and finally, balancing perfection and grounding in order to prevent burnout. Before discussing excellence and the aftermath, let's examine some HPB statistics. According to the data from the National Cancer Registry, HPV cancers represent approximately 25% of all GI cancers in the country. Upper GI cancers account for 50% and colorectal cancers make up the remaining 25%. And HPV cancers are increasing more than any other GI cancers. It's possible that greater awareness and reporting could be some reasons. And these are the statistics of HCC and the increasing prevalence of this issue, largely attributed to alcohol, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, viral hepatitis, and lifestyle changes, including metabolic syndrome. The HPV scene in the country has been transformed by liver transplant programs. Specialists trained abroad initiated active transplant programs with support from hepatologists, radiologists, and critical care experts and anesthesiologists. They started with deceased donors and progressed to living donors. The transplantation program has also helped a lot of other GI surgeons become more confident in handling liver, pancreas, and vascular reconstructions inside the abdomen. However, we do not know the exact number of HPB centers available in the country for treating this disease burden. The data from NOTO, National Organ and Tissue Transplantation Organization, and Mohan Foundation, an NGO, are incomplete and inconsistent. NOTO lists 208 centers for liver transplantation, while Mohan Foundation lists 125. And the status of statutory approvals and the number of active centers at the moment is not clear. Health is a state issue and hospitals do not consistently provide data. NOTO provides a framework for organ transplant data collection in the country. Here are their statistics on transplants over the past decade from 2013. Nevertheless, the statistics again lack reliability due to underreporting, fragmentation, and systemic challenges. Professional organizations like Liver Transplantation Society of India, led by dedicated transplant surgeons, have launched the Indian Liver Transplant Registry to provide reliable and comprehensive liver transplant data in the country. They expect to address challenges such as underreporting, lack of standardization, and excluding living donor transplants from the state registries. However, limitations remain with voluntary participation and geographical disparities. HPB, all said and done, is a prestigious and glamorous specialty. Successful practitioners gain significant recognition, surgical skills, and financial rewards. However, it stands out due to its technical demands and the need to handle higher risk, complex cases of high impact. This field involves higher risk, longer recoveries, and intense multidisciplinary collaboration that often turns competitive, which is not always a healthy one. Financial rewards are balanced by fewer cases, high costs of infrastructure, and training costs. Considering the training facilities in the country, There are more surgeons aiming to become HPB surgeons and needed by the community due to the rising disease burden than the available formal training opportunities. The training avenues are predominantly informal. Structured courses are few and far between, with a 3-year course in MCH available in only 3 centers offering 9 seats accredited by the Medical Council. Other options include fellowship courses of various durations, typically 1 or 2 years, offered by the Medical Council, National Board, universities, and some hospital accredited programs. Professional organizations like LTSI have stepped in and have started endorsing some of these courses, providing structure, although they are not all accredited by the regulatory bodies, despite generally accepted good standards. We do have 78 centers offering nearly 193-year postdoctoral seats in MCH and DNB courses in GI surgery, but the standards of the HPB component are not uniform. Following the highly successful World Congress of IHPBA in 2008, organized by Dr. Jagannath, the HPB Training, Education and Research Foundation, HPB TURF, was established. The foundation includes trustees such as Dr. Avinash Supe here and myself, with the primary objectives of promoting HPB surgery and providing training opportunities to interested students and young faculty members through certificate courses and travel bursaries to establish centers for exposure to advanced HPB surgical techniques and to support multi-center research. The first certificate course was conducted by our team at NIMS, Hyderabad in 2009 and has been a significant success with 2 such courses held annually at various centers consistently. The trustees convened a meeting recently to revitalize the trust and expand its activities and discussed ways to involve IHPBA in the trust initiatives. We have begun correspondence with the association and I'm confident that in the future, the trust will continue to play a constructive role in the academic activities of the association. Now, talking of perfection in HPB surgery, I'll try and explore what perfection means in the context of surgery. The importance of setting realistic goals and recognizing the limits of what can be achieved and what are the barriers and challenges. First, I'll trace the learning curve of a HPB surgeon at various skill levels. I've used this graph in my other presentations. Understanding this is crucial to know why some surgeons improve while others struggle to reach optimal quality. During residency, basic surgical skills are quickly acquired, marking the steepest part of the learning curve. There is a frustration barrier here that must be overcome. The blue line that represents a young doctor who cannot push past this barrier and drops out to pursue probably a different career such as politics or administration and possibly becoming more successful and even an administrative boss. The black line depicts a surgeon who crosses this frustration barrier and achieves some degree of excellence for that stage, but he lacks the passion to advance further. This surgeon remains in mediocrity, performing outdated techniques learned during the residency, unable to cope with the new challenges. The red line illustrates the expert surgeon with a drive to learn from each case and evolve in surgical techniques over the years. This passionate surgeon maintains high quality standards and continues to adapt and improve. How he consolidates and matures with the given challenges deserves further attention. Perfection in surgical practice involves achieving optimal outcomes. It requires a blend of technical skills, decision-making abilities, and the ability to adapt to changing situations in the operating room. Continuous education is essential to keep our skills sharp and relevant in a rapidly evolving field. Engaging in workshops and conferences provides us with the opportunities to learn from experts and share knowledge. Utilizing simulations helps us practice techniques in a risk-free environment, enhancing our surgical proficiency. There is no way for us to get away from learning and mastering advanced surgical techniques like minimally invasive and robotic surgery. These techniques are bound to remain at the forefront of our surgical field. We should not only learn to adopt best practices from established clinical guidelines, but also become a part of formulating new guidelines for the region, tailoring them to our ecosystem. This we do by integrating innovative approaches, participating in prospective trials and publications of our work. It's not that you do not have any more barriers after you reach some degree of excellence. You are likely to face frustration because of the high demands of the profession, peer pressure, the rapidly changing subject and skills needed and not being able to cope, the financial years from the corporate sector of healthcare, the ethical challenges, and the family pressures only add to the challenges. This can lead to dissatisfaction and even burnout if not managed properly. Look at this young surgeon. He has scrolled through 6 catchy medical articles and is also distracted and lured into a host of other information while on the internet. In addition to some sketchy information on medical subjects, he knows why the economy is collapsing, what the stock market will do next, and the exact reason a celebrity was caught cheating. He is drowning in his knowledge. And yet, if you ask him to explain any of it, he'll pause, scratch his head, and says it's complicated. He has become a victim of the information explosion through media and other cyber sources. This man is sick, not in the way his doctor understands, but in the way an overfed brain stops working. He is a victim of what is called informational obesity, a condition where a person consumes more knowledge than he can digest and ends up confused, anxious, and painfully misinformed. What is the solution? Read less, but understand more. Choose your knowledge like you choose your food, carefully and deliberately. Ask yourself, does this information make me wiser, or does it only make me feel informed? Beware of the media. They do not want us to think. They want us to keep scrolling, keep coming back for more. Our addiction is their profit, and our mental exhaustion is their business model. In the end, informational obesity is worse than physical obesity. A fat body can still think, but a fat mind is just noise pretending to be a thought. We must also remember that excellence in one domain can be a double-edged sword. A high IQ doesn't guarantee success or good decision making. Remember my ambassador mechanic. Very high intelligence can lead to overconfidence, confirmation bias, and overlooking simple solutions. This is what is called an intelligence trap, which occurs when you rely too heavily on your intellect and neglect other crucial skills. Emotional intelligence, it's worthwhile reading about from the reference I have given. Creativity and critical self-awareness. How to avoid the intelligence trap is by practicing what is called strategic ignorance, knowing when not to know. Sometimes it's better not to have all the answers. Focusing on the most relevant information leads to better outcomes than getting bogged down in details. Practice what is called meta-forgetting. Our brains can't hold everything. Meta-forgetting is the deliberate process of ignoring irrelevant information to make space for more important things. But it's also essential for us to set realistic goals that reflect not only our skills but the complexities of each surgical case. This helps in managing both personal expectations and those of patients, leading to reduced stress. Understanding that perfection is an ideal rather than a constant state allows us to navigate challenges without undue pressure. This recognition promotes a more balanced approach to surgical practice. Remember, details make perfection, and perfection is not a detail. Having achieved some degree of excellence, we must strive to maintain it. Involving yourself in an audit cycle is crucial. Conducting regular self-assessments help us in identifying areas for improvement. Reflection on past surgeries can illuminate our strengths and weaknesses, fostering continuous professional growth. When we face the pressures of surgery, profession, and life in general, grounding techniques are crucial to help us maintain mental clarity and emotional balance. There is no progress without ambition. There is no ambition without stress. There is no way you can avoid stress altogether. Practicing mindfulness and stress management techniques do help us maintain focus and reduce anxiety during and after surgeries. Depending on the situation you find yourself stressed out, just take a break. Distract yourself, ask for help, drink water, take a deep breath, and some pranayam perhaps. Write about what you feel, listen to soothing songs, or just as Professor Talwar would say in his own direct, inimical way, go and read some pulp fiction. Work-life balance and self-care are critical for sustaining a long and healthy career in surgery. Prioritizing personal well-being can help us maintain our effectiveness and prevent burnout. We have our own role models right on the podium here in demonstrating how to achieve work-life balance. Puneet Dhar, an avid photographer, and our own Salim Ali. We saw him in his elements in yesterday's presidential. Dr. Avinash Supe, apart from being an authority on medical pedagogy, an avid and compulsive trekker, today in Iceland and tomorrow in some deep tropical jungle. Pradeep spent a week with Naga Sadhus in the Mahakumbh on a photographic tour, interviewing and chronicling their lifestyle. And just imagine, within a fortnight, guided us all again, all the way to the incredible event. A supportive professional network is equally important in coping with stress and challenges in our careers. Connecting with the experienced mentors can guide us through complex cases and career decisions. Networking also allows us to share experiences and best practices, fostering a collaborative environment for learning and growth. Ultimately, it's important to balance the pursuit of perfection with grounding techniques for avoiding a burnout. Setting realistic goals is essential. By setting achievable goals, we can mitigate the risk of burnout. Understanding that perfection is not always attainable allows for a healthier approach to surgical practice. Resilience is essential for us to learn from setbacks and for a rapid response and recovery from major disruptions. Adaptability allows us to adjust to new situations, technology, and patient needs. We cannot forget how a stable family helps us to maintain our work balance. An understanding spouse who is ready to support you without putting her own career on the back burner, ready to catch you when you have a fall and provide you a safety net for taking more risks, does not hesitate to ground you to earth when you are on cloud nine, especially during high moments of success, and helps in editing your oration narrative with useful tips. And with children as pillars of strength is a secret behind many successful surgeons. For lifelong learning and continuous improvement, cultivating a growth mindset is important. Adopting a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset encourages us to view challenges as opportunities for learning. In a fixed mindset, you are a failure when you fail. In the growth mindset, you are learning. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we must strive for perfection while maintaining grounding techniques to ensure our well-being and effectiveness. By integrating continuous learning, self-care, and adaptability, we can achieve both professional excellence and personal balance. And as Dr. Chetan Kantharia says, जीना इसी का नाम है. Thank you, gentlemen.